Wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you wanna talk.
Welcome, my friends. It's Talk to Solomon time. Thanks so much for joining us. My co-host is
Chief Steve.
former Police Chief Steve Davis, and from the Netherlands, we have Brent Johnson with us. Hello, Brent.
Hi there, Stan. I apologize. I had a time zone glitch. We don't change down here, but you changed there, and I just plain forgot. My bad. But I'll tell you this. Down here in the Southern Hemisphere, we don't get to see what you folks get. You've got a comet that you're supposed to be able to see with the naked eye the next few days.
Well, actually, it's Michelle Obama streaking, but I don't want to ruin the surprise for you. Her behind it, a comet of about the same diameter. All right, let's go now to our guest. His name is Michael Connelly. He has been with us many times before. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Michael, we're going to talk about something that's kind of amazing but expected, that we now have a president, an attorney general, a political party, and a large group of American citizens that believe that the Constitution is irrelevant, rules are irrelevant, laws are irrelevant, that we have a president and an administration that should have the right to do any damn thing they want to do to any person they want to do it to, including, but not limited to, giving them a drone suppository. Am I close?
You're close. I mean, you're exactly on point. What we have is a situation where, first of all, they approve 30,000 flight plans for drones in this country. And those can be used for surveillance, to violate our Fourth Amendment rights. They can listen in with those drones to our telephone conversations, monitor our emails. They can just follow our GPSs in our car, know where we're going. They can even pick up the license plate, know where they're going. Now we find out that the president, through a memorandum, a so-called white paper, has been given authority to order drone strikes against U.S. citizens. And I'm talking about lethal strikes like they're using in Afghanistan, Pakistan, places like that. Legal, supposedly according to them, lethal strikes against American citizens. Now, of course, once that came out, and was actually, the story was broken, I think, by the New York Times or the Washington Post. Once it came out, they started backtracking. But if you look at exactly what they said, they're not backtracking. Basically, Eric Holder says, well, we promise we're not going to use lethal strikes with drones against American citizens on American soil unless they are engaged in combat. What does that mean? What do they mean by engaged in combat? Do they mean conducting a terrorist activity? Or do they mean somebody out demonstrating in support of the Second Amendment that has a weapon on them that they legally own? Again, we have the loose ends that the administration is famous for, where they use language that basically gives the President of the United States authority to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants.
And to whomever he wants.
Yep.
Now, let me talk to you about, or ask you about, this thing called imminence. That was a big part of the discussion. You know, to me, imminent means it's going to happen. It's almost here. His arrival is imminent. He's 30 feet, 100 feet, less than a block. They said imminent just means more likely than not that this person will do something. That's imminent? What dictionary did they get that definition from?
Well, again, the language they use in all of these things is so vague. In the National Defense Authorization Act, for example, they use language that I read it when somebody alerted me to it. I read it and I saw that it gave the President of the United States the authority to order American citizens arrested by the U.S. military on American soil and detained indefinitely. When I had listeners to my radio talk show and people who follow my blog, writing their congressman, they were getting letters back from even Republican members of Congress saying, oh, no, that's not what the language means. That is what it means. And that's exactly what they mean when they talk about imminent. They mean that anything that Obama decides is imminent. That may be 2 weeks down the road, 2 months down the road, maybe never. But if he says you're an imminent threat to engage in combat against the United States, then we're coming after you. And it gives him the authority to do it, at least in his mind.
Now, in California, there is a task force that has, I don't know, 25, 30 officers. And this task force goes to the homes of citizens of the state of California where they've decided those people, even though they legally own guns, because they know everyone who owns a gun in California, that they decide they shouldn't have a gun because they've been adjudicated, I don't know, a Democrat. So they then go to the homes and remove the weapons. They want to increase the size of this force dramatically. They want to go from having to get a court order to not having to get a court order. It's kind of the camel's nose under the tent kind of a concept. This is the same theory of law that they're talking about with the drone strikes, right?
Exactly. And it's happening not just in California, but it's happening right now. I wrote a recent blog article, and the United States Justice Foundation that I'm executive director of is dealing with a whole bunch of veterans who are being given letters from the VA saying, we are going to rule you incompetent to handle your financial affairs and appoint somebody to do it for you. And by the way, once we do that, you cannot own, purchase, possess, or transport any firearms or ammunition. If you do, we will put you in jail. These are letters going out to America's heroes. And they're talking about, in California, increasing the size of the police authorities to go in and raid people's homes. We had a situation that was reported to us recently at the Justice Foundation where a SWAT team raided the home of a father and a couple of kids. They broke into the home, fully armed, with the armored vest on, the whole business, and terrorized these people. Who were these people? Who were the SWAT team? It wasn't local authorities. It wasn't the sheriff's department or the state police or even the FBI. It was the Department of Education. They were looking for the wife, the ex-wife of this man who had defaulted on her student loans. What is that all about? That's just, that's absolutely terrifying.
All right, Chief, you have a thought here?
Well, absolutely terrifying is exactly the right way to describe that, besides being unlawful. But whether it's something, what I see happening is that there were things written into the Constitution, and the president right now is being unconstitutional, but there's really not a mechanism to stop him. He controls the Attorney General. He controls the armed forces. He controls the federal police agencies. So while our founders put in language and mechanisms to say it is unlawful, unconstitutional, there's no mechanism to really stop him that I know of.
Brent.
Well, I think, Stan, that you said it a little bit incorrectly. It's not that the government is saying that the Constitution doesn't matter. The government is simply saying that it is acknowledging it is a dictatorship. It can do whatever it wants. It believes that anything that the legislature passes automatically is law. Anything the president declares automatically is law. And the executive branch is in collusion with the judicial branch to justify their actions by saying the courts okay it. The bottom line is that in America, in the United States of America, the Constitution is a strict limitation on government. The Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. It does not say, unless the government decides that an individual is unqualified to have guns. Now, I make this argument. The first thing that the pro-gun control lobby will say is, oh, well, then you're saying that anybody who, anybody, no matter how sick, no matter how depraved, is allowed to have a gun. And they'll use that as an example to try and discredit my argument. The bottom line is that in America, The people are the rulers. The government is the servant. And the servant is not allowed to do what it has been prohibited from doing. When it attempts to do those things that are barred from it, it is acting outside the law. So what you have is you have a bunch of criminals, white-collar criminals, in the White House, in the Supreme Court, in the legislature, who believe that they are kings and that they are dictators and can do whatever they want. And the American people have been sadly remiss in their respective duties to use the Constitution to keep the beast that is government chained down. So if anybody is responsible for this, it's not the Democrats, it's not the liberals, it's not Obama, it's the American people. By being complacent, by being apathetic, by not doing their duty. Their duty is to overthrow this kind of tyranny. That's the whole point. And no one wants to say the O word because, oh, no, you're going to say things like that, they're going to come after you. Yeah, that's right. But the bottom line is, if you don't say things like that, then you end up living in a totalitarian dictatorship where there are no rights except the rights that are declared by government. I'm not willing to live that way. I know you're not willing to live that way. If we get enough American people not willing to live that way, then we can stop it. What you have is criminals, outlaws, terrorists, thugs in government, and we have a duty to put them down.
Let's get back to our guest, Michael.
Well, you know, it's absolutely right that people don't understand what the Constitution means. The Bill of Rights, and I've written a little booklet called Our Constitution, where I take each article and section of the Constitution and amendment, and I print them exactly the way they were originally written, and then I say what they mean. I make my comments about it. Because, for example, most people in this country, and kids are not being taught the Constitution in most schools, do not know that there's a preamble to the Bill of Rights. And that preamble basically says that these are not rights given to us by the government. Because if we acknowledge that the government gives us rights, like those of free speech and freedom of the press and the right to keep and bear arms, then we acknowledge they can take them away. The preamble says these are rights that are granted inherently to all people, granted to the American people as citizens, endowed by our Creator, and they can't take them away. The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. The Second Amendment was put in because the Founding Fathers had just fought a long and bloody revolutionary war to obtain our freedom from tyranny. They were starting a brand new government. They didn't know if it was going to work. Nobody had ever tried it before, and they wanted to make sure that if it turned into a tyranny, which it took over 200 years for it to happen, but it's happening right now, that the American people would maintain their arms and their ability to take back their country. And that's what's so important right now about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and defending the Second Amendment. And we do have an obligation to defend the Second Amendment, to defend the entire Constitution. That's part of our obligation as a citizen of this country.
Well said. In fact, there's an old saying that if ducks had guns, how many people would hunt ducks? Well, that was the concept. If the American people are armed, not with hunting weapons, but with weapons equivalent to the military, then what insane members of government would try and destroy the citizenry, would try and enslave the citizenry? I mean, that's in essence the whole concept. It's not really rocket science. But what is amazing is that we have people who have an I and a Q, but they've never been introduced. And they can't see what is obviously happening. What Brent said is 100% correct. A government that doesn't fear its people is a tyrannical government. A government that does fear its people is a service-oriented government. We started with a service-oriented government. We have unfortunately moved to where we have a government that is becoming more and more tyrannical. Now, Chief, you have a point here?
Well, no, you're making very good points. This is a very interesting conversation. But right now, what we have is people that have been relying for many, many years on the police departments, on their law enforcement officials, on things that we have not, as a society, done what we're supposed to do and collectively engaged ourselves in the militia that we're supposed to have formed to be able to collectively get together and oppose this government. So it's going to take a lot more work on our part to get physically ready to be able to do this.
There's no question, and we're not suggesting that tomorrow morning, bright and early, everyone, call everyone you know, gather together arms and attack anybody, because that's not what we need to do. But what we do need to do is stand up and, list our grievances. We have the right of assembly, and we must demand that right. We have the right of free speech. We must demand that right. We have the right to be armed. We must demand that right. And if sufficient numbers do it, government will acquiesce. If I go up by myself, it's over. Michael?
Well, in the state of Texas, we in fact have a state militia, which is authorized by the state of Texas. And other states, I think, are making the move to do the same thing. But there are a number of ways we can defend ourselves at this point. With the United States Justice Foundation, we're about to file lawsuits on behalf of veterans who are the government is trying to disarm them. Obviously, there are 21 million veterans in this country. Most of them are armed. They're trained. Most of them are very unhappy with what the government is doing. We took an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, not to protect and defend Obama or any other president of the United States. We take our oath very seriously, so they're making a move to disarm veterans. We're going to be going to court to try to stop that. And so we can still go and fight in the judiciary branch of government. We need to fight at every level of government, state, local. We have to take back our school boards, for example, so our children can be educated about what the Constitution really means. But in addition, we need to, as you say, stand up and prepare ourselves to defend our country, to defend our rights. We do have that obligation. It's not just something that we want to do, it's something that we are obligated to do, particularly those of us that have taken that oath of office.
Brett, you were saying?
Yeah. Going to California is the example. You live in California, okay, and suddenly a bunch of thugs, street thugs, come bursting into your home and try to take your weapons, okay, and try and rape your wife and your daughter. What are you going to do? Most people are going to fight them. Most people are going to if they have firearms, they're going to pick up their firearms and shoot them. However, if those same thugs, those same street thugs, are given T-shirts that say FBI or police or some kind of a badge, suddenly it's okay. We can't go out and fight them because, after all, they are the law. They represent the law. And what I have been trying for 20 years to get across to people is that any government official who disobeys the Constitution, regardless of obeying their superiors, I'm only following orders. I'm only following orders. I'm only doing what policy says. That's irrelevant. The Constitution is a document designed to protect you and me from the government. And when the government, through its agents, violates the Constitution, those agents are breaking the law. And just because they're wearing a badge doesn't excuse them. Just because they have policies that say it's okay doesn't excuse them. Just because a legislature has gone out and said it's okay for them to do that doesn't make it lawful. And in the end, the final arbiter as to what is lawful and not is not the government. The final arbiter is you, and you, Steve, and you, Stan, and you, Michael, and me, and a person living in a house in California. If you're not willing to stand up against the lawless thugs, whether or not they have a badge on, then you have essentially committed yourself and your family to a life of abject servitude.
Well, I think that's well said. Michael, we have just a couple of minutes left. I'm going to hand it to you. Talk to us about how the United States Justice Foundation is funded and what kind of support you need in order to be able to have that particular battlefield handled in the courts.
Well, we are privately funded. We get no government grants and wouldn't accept any government grants. We basically are working at this point to defend people's constitutional rights. And we represent people for free. In these veteran suits, we will be representing these veterans free of charge. And it's going to be expensive, but we are going to do that. We don't charge them any attorney's fees. We don't charge them Any court costs, we pay everything. We're representing right now a family in New Mexico that got caught up in Operation Fast and Furious. We're going to be working on their case because basically what the government wanted them to do, they owned a gun store, was to get themselves involved in selling the weapons to straw buyers. They refused to do it, so the government turned around and charged them with doing it. And it's, of course, false, and it turns out their key witness in this thing just happened to be a police officer who was under investigation for working with the drug cartels. We deal with all across the board, not just Second Amendment, but First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. We've filed 3 Supreme Court briefs recently in the Defense of Marriage Act case and in Proposition 8 case out in California. And this is what we do. And we do it to defend the Constitution. We've been doing it for 35 years. People can go to usjf.net to find out more about us. We're updating our website, put more information on there, find out what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how they can support us by making a donation.
Well, folks, let me be the first to suggest that, dig a little, come up with $5, $10, $20, $30, $50, whatever you can handle, because we need this front covered. You and I can't go in front of the Supreme Court and do anything. These people have a track record. Gary Creep, who's been on our show, they've had some wonderful victories. They haven't won them all, but they're fighting and they're bringing attention, and we appreciate that and respect that, and thank you for that, Michael. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's always a pleasure. We'll be back. We'll have Michael back, and he'll keep us abreast of what's happening. In the meantime, folks, stay tuned. Alan Keyes is coming our way. I like to eat. Do you like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. They say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com, check it out. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 Supercolloidal Silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get supercolloidal silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule. Do you like being healthy? I do. In fact, this product, which I've been taking for years now, is absolutely the answer. Now, you may not believe it, but I'm actually 21, plus tax, of course. This product has 146 different healthful nutrients in it, and it's liquid, so it's bioavailable. It tastes great, and it's sugar-free. 1 ounce of Sonic Life each day will help you to maintain and enhance your health. It's the kind of a gift, well, that you'll thank your mom for, your husband for, your wife for, your kids for. Whoever you give it to, they're going to say thank you, and you are going to enjoy the benefits of having all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients your body needs in one very reasonably priced product. Just go to cpnlive.com and everything's right there. You'll be able to read all the ingredients. The price is right there, a flat price delivered to your door anywhere in the United States of America. Sonic Life is a gift, a great gift. Give it to yourself. I do.